So welcome everyone to Women Who Lead. We are so excited that you joined us today, and I have the distinct honor to connect with the venerated, that's what we know her, the trailblazer, Diane Ramirez, who has just been named Chief Strategy Officer for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, New York Properties. Diane, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here. And in her role, Diane has been charged with growing the brand across one of the most iconic cities in the world and enhancing the partnerships that we have with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services franchises around the globe. Hello, my name is Teresa Palacio Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. And I'm so glad that you're able to join me today for un cafecito, right? So that we can get to opportunity to learn more about Diane Ramirez. So the magnitude of Diane Ramirez's influence is best stated in a recent article by Bloomberg Business. The headline reads like this: Berkshire Hathaway Home Services New York Properties amasses dream team, names Diane Ramirez Chief Strategy Officer. With Ramirez at the helm, the brokerage is poised for meteoric growth in Manhattan and beyond. So let me introduce you to Diane Ramirez. Diane, again, so excited that you are here with us, and you will be the leader of our flagship office at 590 Madison Avenue. And, again, you'll be working with a lot of our agents across the platforms and across the globe. But prior to joining us, you have a pretty impressive career, and I just kind of want to tell everybody a little bit about it. You were the executive chairman and senior advisor of Brown Harris Stevens, and you began your career, right, as an agent, initially working in Palm Beach, and soon after returned to New York City. And for those that know me, they know that New York is my heart. That's where I was born, where you became a successful agent. And in 1984, you founded the residential brokerage firm of Halstead with Clark Halstead in Manhattan, which is such a very beautiful, organization. So you led the firm on technology and then also on the high-end market. The firm's success did not go unnoticed in 2001 when it was purchased by Terra Holdings. Under Diane's wise and steady leadership, the firm grew from 30 offices to over 1,400 agents across New York City, the Hamptons, Hudson Valley, New Jersey, and Fairfield County, Connecticut. And in 2020, you merged with Brown Harris Stevens, and her role expanded to help guide the company's growth. One of the things that I remember very specifically when I first met you, Diane, was the fact that you were receiving the Riz Media Hall of Fame Award in New York. And I heard your background and was so impressed with all of the different things that you had received, from Swampville Power 200, the New York Observer, 100 Most Powerful People in New York Real Estate. And I am so honored that today we have the opportunity to meet with you and talk to you. And then for Diane, actually lives in Manhattan and has, with her husband, and is proud mother of 2 and a grandmother of 5. Very impressive. So let's get started. And if you don't mind, Diane, give us a little bit of background, share your background with us on how you got started in real estate. How did it come about?
Well, it is, as you've mentioned, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here, truly thrilled to be here. But as you mentioned, I was in Palm Beach. It was a short few years in Palm Beach. My husband has an investment banking firm. He opened his first branch office there, and we thought, let's do it. And my 2 young children were off to school for the first time, and I thought, what am I going to do? I just want to be in something with business. And I had already bought and sold a couple of places, so I thought real estate was perfect. So I took the classes necessary and became an agent in Florida, but quickly moved to New York. And that's when I knew that this was the career for me. Moving back to my home state and my city and selling real estate there just was magical. So I loved it, and very successful, and my children were young still at the time. So being an agent was so perfect because you can make your own hours. It's a wonderful career for a woman with children, especially. So I got to be class mother and all the fun things. But once they went off to school, that's when I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's when Clark and I got together and started Halstead.
Well, that's beautiful because, it's so true. You really can. And that my story mirrors exactly yours. Like my kids were little. I really was, what am I going to do? Real estate just fit that perfect puzzle and allowed me to set my hours. And then once they're off, you're like, okay, now I can really concentrate.
Right.
Of course, I didn't do what you did. So I just want you to know, so excited again about all the growth and the work that you're going to be doing in New York with our company. So tell us a little bit about what is your, if you can, a sneak peek of what your yes.
Right. Well, I'm so excited with my role because it really is where my passion lies. I formed a company as you pointed out, I grew a small 250 firm into a 1,400 agent firm in 4 states and 30 something offices. And that's really what I love doing. I love nurturing and growing and just smart strategic growth. And so when Candace reached out, and I love the Berkshire Hathaway brand. I have always thought this is the premier brand. And so when she offered this opportunity to help do what my passion is, that smart strategic growth, with a brand that I admire and was honored to be asked to join, it was just made in heaven. So we will build this brand in New York City to be the prominent brand, and we are poised for it. We've got the right leadership, and we're on our way. So it's very exciting, very exciting.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, what a flagship, area to see the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services sign in every window as you walk down Central Park would be beautiful. So thank you again for this, this quick look and peek at what we're expecting to see right now. I have heard Alan Dalton, who's the Senior Vice President of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, mention many times that when former Mayor Bloomberg was being interviewed on Meet the Press, he was asked, what is the greatest threat to the future of New York City? And he answered London, which caught everyone by surprise, right? Yes. He asked, well, why London? And Mayor Bloomberg obviously stated that because New York City doesn't compete just with the domestic, it competes with the greatest cities of the world. And we have to as well. So what are your thoughts, especially with some of the things that we hear? Now, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got people that are watching from all across the country and also the world, and what we're hearing about New York, varies from person. If you live in New York, people are leaving, there's flight. So tell me what your thoughts are, especially with the elections coming up with Cuomo,
Oh, yes. So much going on. But we live I live in an incredible city. And he's so right. And Bloomberg was such an incredibly great mayor that we had, is that New York City, and I'm a little biased, but New York City must be the capital of the world. It must be the beacon, and that has to be with finance and the arts and education, because from that, much of the country flourishes. So it's so true. We cannot ever let our city become anything but the capital of the world. And with that, we have had our challenges. But I've lived through the challenges of almost bankruptcy and 9/11 and being COVID, being in this vertical city. And so everybody once again, says, New York is done. Well, we're never done. We have true grit. We're resilient. Our market, which we could not even show for 3 to 4 months, we couldn't walk in agents were not allowed to even walk in their offices. So we were really kind of down and out, but we are back. Our marketplace is back at all levels. Our luxury brand is flourishing. The developers and the high-end owners are selling their properties, and they're getting good prices, maybe a little bit of a discount, which is encouraging for the buyers. But we are back, and we will be the city. We always have been, and we still do have our challenges politically, but I'm hoping we're going in the right direction. We have a new mayor-elect, and I do believe he will be great. We have our challenges in the governorship, but all of that is going to fall out. And I believe politically, we are going into a much, much better place, which was desperately needed.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is so true. It is a city that bounces back. If you look at 9/11, and thank you for mentioning that, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
all that happened, and yet back resilience always comes back and flourishes.
Yes,
And again, such an important city, especially to a lot of people that are coming from Asia and Europe. I mean, it's
absolutely.
certainly the pivotal place. So I
Yes,
agree. But
yes.
here's my question in this. Give me your opinion, because I know with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, we have a great brand. What is it going to take for us to be number one in that luxury landscape? Because there's a lot of players in the New
Oh,
York
yes.
City area when it comes to luxury.
Right. It does. But what it takes is, brand is so important. And this is a brand that will resonate. When you look at what your brand and our brand is in this nation, and even globally, it is number one. So it's not like we're a startup that someone has to figure out what is Berkshire Hathaway. We are Berkshire Hathaway. So really, it's going to take the leadership that we have, and I mean the leadership from the absolute top down. We can feel it is all there, and then the local leadership with Candace, we're just poised, and we're ready to go. It's going to be a strategic growth. It's going to be with hiring agents already. I'm telling you, the phone is ringing off the hook. They want to be part of this new growth. And it's going to happen, not only organically, but strategically through acquisitions. And it won't be tomorrow. It takes time, but we are poised, in my opinion, to be the number one firm in this great city.
And I'm confident if anyone can do it, you can do it, Diane. And I know that Gino Blafori is the same way. He's talked about the fact that, it does take perseverance. It does take determination. He actually started knocking on doors back when Silicon Valley was just the fruit valley, right, of the world.
Yes.
And look at it today. Through time, it is now one of the most pristine areas of the country, right? So I know as a realtor in Manhattan, how do you create those clients for life? Especially when you've got newer agents that are, wanting to onboard and learn the business. That's always a challenge, right? With those newer agents, how do they get those relationship buildings to become what we're terming invaluable? Because that's Christy Budnick's, right? Her invaluable positioning.
Yes, it's so important. And for those that are the agents that have been successful and are successful, they've done it through really it's hard work, but it's being that advisor. It's being the person that's there for your customer and clients all the time. They're the most important, not the transaction. And you keep up with them, and you're always there to help and guide. And then the newer agents, that's what they have to do. They have to learn to be a resource. They all have knowledge. They have expertise. Share your expertise. Don't worry whether there's a transaction at the end of it. If someone needs guidance, you help them out. And that's what does it. And because New York is such a difficult city to navigate, because it's even to get into an apartment, whether it's a rental or a board or a condo or a co-op, there's a lot of things you have to do that you need an advisor to get you through it. And then how do you renovate in a vertical environment with all of the requirements necessary? You can't just have a painter walk in your house and paint it. Everything needs approvals. Getting a dog watcher that the building will allow in. Every little nuance of your life needs guidance. And that's what a great agent is. You're always a resource, whether you're doing a transaction that day or it was 5 years ago, you're still checking, can I help you out? Does your child need help getting into a school? Do you want to know what great restaurants and how to get a reservation? We got to be everything to them. And that's what you really need to be a great agent, is to be that go-to resource for your client. And then you're theirs for life.
I mean, that's really so important, really, because in New York, it's such a unique city. You just brought up so many different things, like the co-ops and, garbage days and parking and all the things that people that are outside of New York aren't familiar with. So really, I think that's great advice, especially for those newer agents, because each of them has a unique ability of knowing their little universe and where the best places are. And that's what they bring to the table, right? Is that expertise. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's talk about your leadership. I think it's really important that people get to know you and how you lead, especially those agents that have not been part of your universe. So tell me, because this is one thing Alan always asks me, do you think that women lead differently than men? Is there like a different nuance? And you've worked with, David, so in the past, tell me about that.
And this is my opinion, it could be wrong, but I don't think we lead differently. I just think we all lead as who we are. I'm the leader who I am. And every day I try to be better, and I read and I absorb, but it's always to be the true person who I am. I may see someone who's a great leader and say, oh my God, they're so dynamic and they're out there and they're on the stage and they're so captivating. And that's what I want to be. But that may not be me, but I have to be the best me. And that's what I think a leader is. One that is the best of who they are. Stay true to yourself, but always be open to learn and expand who you are. So we become better, hopefully, every single day. I know I do. I learn something every day, and I try to bring that to my leadership style.
Well, I love that. And it's being authentic, right? It's just such a big thing.
Absolutely.
And so who do you look up? Because you said, for inspiration and mentorship, you talked about seeing other people. Who is the one that you think, oh my God, they inspire me? That's somebody that I would love to, kind of mentor under, which definition is different for other people. Like I always see millennials and they say, well, mentorship means someone that's on a regular basis talking to me, but a mentor doesn't have to be that. You can have someone that you follow, right, Diane?
Yes.
So tell me who do you look up for inspiration and mentorship?
Well, for inspiration, I think, it's like the birds in the sky. I am so inspired by so many things. I wake up in the morning, I always have a passage that I read to get my inspiration, even just on a spiritual level each day. But I'm inspired from watching the staff and how organized they are, or watching a manager handle such a difficult situation with such grace. And then of course there's the great leaders. I mean, Gene is just an inspiration to me, and he's just such an outstanding leader. So it's not any one person, but I just, like I said, it's almost like the air. I'm just so inspired every single day, just watching what's around me.
Oh, I love that. So let's talk about risk. I am risk averse. I wish I wasn't, but what is the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Right. Well, this one may sound strange because I'm not sure it's a risk, because risk, I think you think could go bad or not bad, but it certainly was the boldest move I've made. And that was to join Berkshire Hathaway. When you think about it, where I am in my life, I birthed Halstead in 1984, grew that firm. I merged it last year, and then said, I want something that's going to really fill my passion. So it was a risk, but it was more a bold move because I know this is great. So and risk, I always think there's that doubt. So I would think that is the boldest thing I have ever done in my life, and so happy that I've done it.
Oh, and so we're so happy that you're with us. I think that it takes a lot of inner confidence. And I totally, again, understand what you're saying, because that took a deep dive right into
Yes.
how do I, finish, with growing or something that should be all over, right, in the New
Yes.
York marketplace.
Yes.
And again, I can't wait to see that all happen.
Yes.
Let's talk about events in life, because we already talked about a couple things that have hit New York. You've got COVID and you've got 9/11, but personally and professional, because I think we learn from a lot of the events that either impact us in a positive or negative way. But what is the most memorable event that has ever impacted you professionally, and why?
Well, I think for me, and it may sound self-serving, but it was actually an award I received a number of years ago. It's called the Henry Forster Award, and it's given at the real estate board at the residential level. And this is something that your peers vote on, and it's all very, very private. You have no idea you're even being nominated. So, and this, as I said, was a number of years ago. And these are all your competitors. So, you fought with them, you collaborated with them, and you never quite know where they see you standing as a leader within your community. So receiving that award by my peers really made me feel, for the first time as a leader in the industry, that I was probably doing a good job. And that was very, very gratifying to me. So that was a very important event for me.
Wow. And what an honor, right? And that
Yes.
recognition, which I think is, and the fact that as women sometimes, or minorities, sometimes we wonder, am I deserving? Am I, did I reach, did I do it? How do other people feel? And I can tell your personality, you want to be liked by the others, but you have to be strong. And, so were there any time, as you look and recall in your past, any biases? Because I talk to people that have been in business for 50 years, 20 years, and everyone's the biases they may have felt or that they experience might be different. But how about you? Any biases or assumptions that were made about you, so that our audience can see, yeah, this has happened to me, in the past as well?
Well, it's interesting because I don't feel it in my core, but I know, I'm Hispanic by marriage, but have carried that name for over 50 years very proudly. But there was always an undertone, and in New York, it's the kind of classic names that people are expecting. So that was always something I felt, an undertone of almost surprise when they see who I was and my name. And then being a woman and being invited on different boards, that you walk in and you're a woman and they're expecting it to be a man, especially years ago. But it was always an undertone. I felt weird being often the only woman in a boardroom, or the only one person with a Hispanic name in an arena. But I never felt like it held me back. I just felt like I was who I am, I was there because I was supposed to be there. So all of that didn't matter. And when I felt that way, I found that everyone around me felt that way too. So so it never impeded me in any way. But I did feel an underpinning of it throughout my career.
Well, and it's, you know, again, the fact that you said you talk to other people and they feel like they probably felt the same way. Sometimes you don't know, you think somebody else and then you find out they're just like me, right? They felt that
Yes,
the same
exactly.
uncertainty, no matter who they are, whether male or female, and they're
Right.
proved, you know, you got to prove yourself. Do you think sometimes we have to work harder because we feel that in our own inner that we have to work harder than somebody else that maybe is
Maybe, but I tend to try to work hard anyway, and that's why I felt like I was there because I worked hard and I
Yeah.
earned it, and therefore I should just show that I was meant to be there, rather than the other way around, feeling uncertain. I just felt I'm there because I'm supposed to be there, and that made it okay, and that's how we should all feel is how we feel, not how the other person. Be confident in your own knowledge that you should be there. So hold your
Love it.
head up high.
I love it. So let's talk about personal sacrifices because there are times, right, that especially in your role as a leader, as running organizations, in the position that you had, were there any times that you had any personal sacrifices that you had to make, especially when it came to your family?
Yes. I really cannot say I sacrificed, but I very early on in my career, I I was trying to figure out how to balance because you want to just jump in the deep end of the pool and you realize that you have children and a husband who expects you to be at corporate dinners and all everything else involved with that. And that's when I said the only way I can be what I need to be to everyone in my life was to make certain I was 100% at that moment what I was supposed to be. If I was doing homework or at a class event with my children, that was 100%. If there was an emergency, of course, you go to it, but that was the focus. And then if I was in the office, even my children and husband know if they call and I'm busy, I just say, is everything okay? And if it's okay, they know I'm going to hang up because I am 100% with my business mind. And that's what's made it work for me because I see people trying to be 100% for on at all times, and you end up being nothing all of the time. So as best you can, be present in your life, and somehow I find then there's no sacrifices because
Oh,
there's no
wow.
regrets.
That's great advice. I'll tell you, when I served as the chair of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This is many years ago, and I will never forget the mayor who was a woman who actually came and she was speaking and she was going on stage and I was about to present her and we were again about to go live and she's like, you know, about to go on and the phone rings and it's her son. And she said, you know, I need to take this call. It's my son and he never calls me. So it must be important. And so it just kind of like here I was trying to be so, you know, perfect and all,
Yes,
you know, and she made it clear how important those times were, like that
yes,
family and
yes,
that being present with he never calls me. So there's a reason
exactly,
that he's calling me and I'm going to be present, but let me just grab this call.
exactly.
I just I love that vision, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes you have to think about those kind of things,
yes,
especially because we are dual mothers, well, wives. You
yes,
mentioned your husband having a career and a major impact as a New York financier, right? In that,
yes,
I can just
yes,
imagine
yes,
you being in your leadership role, your house, you know, your husband in a big position, and then your
yes,
children. What a, you know, what a lot of, work that
yes,
you had to do to get where you are.
yes.
So
Thank
tell
you.
me, who has made the biggest impact in your career professionally or personally?
All right. Well, this goes back a long ways, but it has been a huge impact in my life. It was my dad. I lost my dad when I was a teenager. But I still can hear his voice in my head. Like every other dad, I felt his love. But my father always said to me, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. And I've heard this since a little girl, and it wasn't just puffery. He was genuinely saying, Diane, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I heard this throughout, and whether you were doing little girl things or then teenage things, and it pushed me through school to be the best I could be because I knew it was up to me. So even in my career, anytime a new challenge comes, I hear my father saying to me, you can do anything you put your mind to. And then you can, because you have the confidence. So the confidence I have as a businesswoman is definitely from my dad.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful story. And always, right, those
Yes.
positive
Yes.
as mothers and family members, if they're agents, those positive those
Yes.
encouraging words
Right.
lead you through life. And you never
Yes.
know. You said
You
he
never
passed
know.
away when you were a teenager, that's what you remember the most, and it takes you to where you are today. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
So what advice would you give your own children or family member today about life or business?
All right. Well, it's really reiterating what I said recently. Be present. Both of my children are married. They're in professions. They have huge responsibilities. They have wonderful spouses, fabulous children. And I tell them in everything, no matter what it is, be present. My son is the heir apparent for our family business. It's a huge responsibility, but be present. And they all know that the children, you have to be there for them. You can't miss the little things in their life. And, you can always have a meeting an hour later. You can always work an hour longer, but be present. And I just think it makes your entire life just more fulfilling. You'll have a beautiful business life, but without a beautiful personal life, what is life all about? So that is what I've always counseled them on. Be present.
Wow. And again, great advice. Is there anything looking back in your career that you think, God, I wish I would have done this differently?
Yeah, there really isn't. I feel very blessed in my life. I just, when you work hard and things fall, and things, there's always disappointments here or there. This didn't go as well as you wanted, or this wasn't as big a success, or you made a pitch to someone and they went somewhere else. There's always little disappointments, but you got to look at life in the big picture. And in the big picture, I can only say I feel very, very blessed. No regrets.
Well, we're almost out of time. I can't believe this, right? This has been so much fun.
It has been.
I want to hear one thing that you think that leaders today may make, like a mistake you may have made, or that you see a lot of leaders making, that, you think, I wish they wouldn't make that mistake. And obviously you've talked about being present, how important that is in your career, in your personal life, no matter. And I think that is absolutely one of the most critical things. In fact, I'm also involved with the National Association of Women in the Real Estate and Housing Ecosystem. And we put together the 10 principles, of which being present is one of those 10 principles as a leader, because it's so critical. But any mistake, right? What do you see people doing that you wish, hey, stop, rethink this?
Right. I think it's a simple thing of just caring. I think I think I see some leaders are just so involved in the running of the business or trying to get the next amount of business done or a higher amount of income coming in. And that's all so important. But you've got to continue to care and care about your leaders, your agents, and your staff. And I just see that it's almost like in the Ivy Tower, and forget that everyone who's working for you needs to feel special. And they've got to take the time to let everyone, not only your top leadership, but your agents and your staff, know how much they mean to you. And that's something I've always tried to do. And I'm very proud of the fact that anyone that works for me, I think, always knows that I truly care about them. And so many are just a little too busy and forget that.
Oh, wow. It's what makes us, human beings today, and
Yes.
relationships, and how important it is, especially as you see what we've gone through in the last, 2 years, and we continue to go through, is developing those relationships and really showing that you're genuinely caring about somebody. I can see that from you already, and I'm so honored to really get to know you even more. I know our audience as well. We always end our show with the one last question that I always ask everyone, because I think it's really important. I love quotes. I love books. I love sharing that information with others. Tell me, what is your favorite, either quote or book or, advice that you would give to others that resonates with you?
Right. Well, there's so many books, but I'm very big on quotes. I love it. In fact, I want us starting. I'm going to get the staff to start with a quote for all of our people every day, because I do think it's that little something that makes you think in an inspirational way for yourself. But the one I'm actually, so I don't misquote it. There's so many quotes that I love. I mean, I have them tacked up all over my wall, these little quotes. But this one really is, I think, my favorite. It was from Winston Churchill, and everyone's heard it. But success is not final. Failures are not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. That one really resonates with me. It's you just put that foot in front of the other, because it is that courage to just keep going on that counts. And that's
wow. That's
my
great
favorite
quote. It is really good, and it
Thank
really
you.
also can encompass how we all, every day, right?
Yes.
And with what happened during World War II, and that continuing and then surging again from that. That's where we need to be all, as in our world today, right? I love it. That's
So
a
true.
great quote. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
And
you.
again,
My
thank
pleasure.
you for sharing with our audience, a lot of personal information about you and your personality. And I can see, what a big difference it's going to make to have you at the helm. I love this quote, which I think is so perfect about you. And it's by Peter Drucker, right? I think it's important in the new role that you have is, without a compass bearing, a ship would neither find its port nor be able to estimate the time required to get there. And I think it's perfect for your role and what you're doing, and all the work that you, that lies ahead. And again, we're so honored to have you on the show, and about the expansion that's going to happen in New York to our New York operations. We look forward to conquering the market, right?
Here we are.
That's right. Thanks again.
And thank you,
Diane.
Teresa. It's been a joy, and I look forward to many, many more chats. Thank you.
Me too, right? Okay. Thank you all for watching. And don't forget, join us 2 weeks from today on September 1st, when we're going to feature another group of dynamic women who own franchise operations throughout the country. A lot of them have emerged from agents to owners, just like Diane has, and what that entails so that you can learn from them as well. And don't forget, join our Facebook page, share our episodes, and like our YouTube channel. And remember my thing, always, always bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again. See you in 2 weeks.